Hello everyone. So welcome to another Leetcode question. We are solving today longest common prefix. So the question is asking that we have to return the longest common prefix string amongst an array of strings. If there is no common prefix, then we have to return an empty string. Let's go through an example to understand what the longest common prefix means. So in this example, we are given an array of string flower, flow, and flight. And the longest common prefix among these strings is FL, right? Because FL is the prefix that is common in all the strings. Now let's see another example. Dog, race car, and car. Among the prefix of all these strings, there is no common prefix, right? So here is D, here is R, here is C. So the first character itself in all the array of strings is not matching. So in that case, we have to return an empty string. Okay, so now let's go through the intuition behind the solution. So let's say we are given three strings, right? Flower, flow, and flight. What we can do is, if we have only one string, we can just call it our prefix. Okay. Now what we'll do, we'll go through the next strings, right? We'll go through the next strings. We'll find the prefix between the prefix and the flow, and we'll see that the prefix comes out to be FL. Then we can go to the next string and find the common prefix between the prefix and the flight. So finally we can return FL. So this was very easy to do, right? What we did is the first string in the array of string, we took it as prefix, and then we started our index from 1 till the end of the array. And then we tried to find the common prefix between the prefix and the flow, and we assigned it back to the prefix, right? So okay. And then with that prefix, the prefix that came between the flower and the flow, we assigned it to prefix, and then we find the common prefix between flight and the FL, which was the prefix between flower and flow. And then finally we return the output. Now we need to write a function get common prefix between two strings that will help us find the common prefix between flower and flow, or like flow and flight, something like that. So we have two strings, let's say flow and flight, and we have to return the common prefix between them. Now let's see through an example how we'll do this. In this case, how we'll find the common prefix between two strings. Let's say we have two strings. One is S1 as Anuj Kuma and S2 as Anju, right? So in this case, what the answer would be? The answer would be AN, right? Because this is the longest common prefix between the two strings. Prefix is something that starts, okay? So that should make sense for us. Now, if we assume that S1 is larger or S1 is smaller, then there will be a lot of cases to handle. So what we'll do, we'll always make our S1 as the smaller of two. We'll see later on in code example or code walkthrough how we'll do this. But the thing is that we'll always make S1 as the smaller. Now, among S1 and S2, which one is smaller? Obviously, Anju is smaller. So S1 is now Anju and S2 is now Anuj Kumar. Now what we can do, we can keep an index tracker that will start from 0 and will go till the end of the length of the S1, because S1 is smaller, right? So that's why we'll do this. And I is also here. So what we'll do in this case, in the first case, these two characters are equal, so we'll increment I. And this is also equal to each other. So again, we'll increment I. Now, so this was Anju. So my bad. In this case, for the third character, what we can see is that J is not equal to U. Okay, J is not equal to U. So now what we can do, we can simply return the substring from 0 till I, right? Substring from 0 till I. As we know, in substring function, it takes the start index and the end index. And the end index is not inclusive, right? End index is not inclusive. So in this case, what will happen? We will be returning Anju dot substring from 0 till 2. This is not included. So basically from 0 to 1 is what we are returning, and 0 to 1 is an. So this will help us finding the common prefix between these two strings Anju and Anuj Kumar. And in this case, the answer would be an. Okay. Otherwise, if we just come out of the loop, basically we have consumed all the characters of S1, and it means that all the characters in S1 are there in S2. Then we can simply return S1. Okay. So we have consumed all the characters. In that case, we can return S1. There is another algorithm which is sort of a vertical way of doing this. What it means is that again we'll take the first string. So actually in the first solution, what we did is we were going horizontally, right? We were taking, let's go through here. We were taking this string, comparing these two first, and then we were comparing the next two, and so on, right? So this is sort of what we call as horizontal scanning. We are scanning horizontally. There is another algorithm which is called as vertical scanning. Let's see what we'll do in this. So in vertical scanning, what we do, let's say we have the first string and we have the first character, and we compare this character with all the other first characters in other strings, right? So in the first case, it will all be equal. Then we come to L, and then we see L's are also equal in other strings as well. Then we come to O, we see that O is equal to this one, but here it's not, right? Here it's I. So this is not equal. So my I will stay at 2, and again we can return simply this substring from this string, right? We can return the substring of flower from 0 to 2. So this is called as vertical scanning. Now let's go through the time complexity of this problem. So what we were doing, we were going through all the characters in all the strings. In worst case, we can go through all the characters through all the strings. If we have all the strings as similar, then we will be going through all the characters and returning the prefix. In that case, we can see that we are actually going through all the characters in all strings, right? Now let's examine the space complexity of this problem. In worst case, what could happen is we have two strings. One is each of size n by 2, right? And let's say we find a prefix of size n by 2 minus 1. So we are anyways creating a prefix, right? A temporary prefix in between. So we are creating a string of size n by 2 minus 1, which is proportional to n. And this is actually sum of all characters in all strings. If we take sum of all characters in all strings as n, and this value is actually proportional or equivalent to n. So our time complexity and space complexity will be big of n, where n is the sum of all the characters in all strings. Okay. Now let's go to the walkthrough, the code walkthrough for this. So what we said is that we are given a function of finding longest common prefix between an array of string, and we have to return the string, right? So the first check we did is if our array is null. If our array is null, we can simply return the empty string, since there is no longest common prefix. If the length of the string is, or the array, sorry, if the length of the array is 0, then in that case we can return an empty string. Now what we said, for the first string we'll assign it as the prefix, and then we'll go through the next string, the first in the array, till the end of the length, and we'll write this function GCP, which is get common prefix between the prefix and the strf and the next string, and then we assign it to the prefix, right? So this is what we're doing. So if we have, let's say, AB, AC, and AD, then this becomes the prefix first. Then what we do, so this will become, this is j is equal to 1. So the first case, we find the prefix between, or the common prefix between prefix and the string at j is equal to 1, right? So this will give us A. Then this will become the new prefix, and we will find the get common prefix between A and AD, which will be A, and this will be assigned to prefix, and then we can finally return this A, which is the longest common prefix between all the strings. Now let's go through the function get common prefix between two strings. Like we said earlier, that we always want to assign S1 as the smaller one, right? So first we take the case when S2 length, the length of the second string, right? If it is smaller than the length of the first string, which is S1, that means S1 is larger. So we can call the function on S2 and S2, S1, so that S2 will take the value to S1 and S1 will take the value to S2, right? So in this case, S2 is smaller. So again, my S1 will become smaller. Then we check if any of the two lengths is 0, then in that case we can return an empty string, right? Because in that case there won't be any common prefix. Now what we do, we make an index tracker which is starting from the first character. It goes till the end of the string S1, and we check that at any point of time, if the character at index I in S1 is not equal to the character in string S2 at index I, then in that case we can simply return the substring from 0 till I. So if we had apple and we have some string like APM, so this will be equal to this will be equal to this will be equal to this, but L is not equal to I. So at that time my I was at 0, 1, 2, 3. I was at 3. So we return the substring of S1, basically apple, dot substring from 0 till 3, and 3 is not included. So from 0 to 2, which is app, right? So this will return my substring as app. Otherwise we keep on increasing the index tracker, and if we come out of the loop, which means that we have consumed all the characters in S1, so we have to return the longest common prefix as S1, which was the smaller between the S1 and S2. So we return S1. So this concludes our algorithm to find the longest common prefix in an array of strings. Thank you.